Employees didn't violate state law because the officer did not sexually touch the masseuse. In an emailed response to questions, the chief went on to say, quote, quite the opposite happened. The subject fondled Officer Eberhardt, thereby making him the victim of sexual abuse under 13-1404. That officer, who the chief says is the victim, staked out the 8 parlors, walked in with a recording device, paid cash, and took off his boxers. Also, that statute the chief references stipulates abuse only occurs without consent, but Officer Eberhardt says he initiated the process.
So I had just put my hand on the back of her cap and then held it there, and then she laughed about it, and then shortly after that we did the rest of the stuff, and then she had me roll over.
I don't know how you can continue to prosecute a case in which you know that there's a strong possibility that this officer has committed some sort of crime.
Jack Litwack represents one of the 13 people indicted in this operation for conspiracy, money laundering, and operating a house of prostitution. Like many defense attorneys I spoke with, he's shocked Flagstaff Police and HSI used an investigative technique he says has been widely condemned.
They do not need to do that, and frankly, they should have known better.
Chief Musselman, though, said, quote, it was necessary for there to be direct fondling. But in Arizona, prostitution's defined as engaging in or agreeing or offering to engage in sexual conduct under a fee arrangement. When pressed on that, the chief said it was important offers originate from the masseuse and wrote, quote, there was an additional concern of potential language barriers.
This is a far overstep into abuse of power and some really disturbing ethical issues.
Jenna Panis is an expert on the topics of human and sex trafficking. She says she was disgusted when she heard about this operation.
You don't ask victims to give you sexual pleasure. That is not appropriate.
In documents, officers and agents repeatedly mentioned human and sex trafficking as a primary focus of this investigation. Law enforcement even brought along victims' advocates when they made the arrests, writing, quote, there would be a good likelihood that we would encounter someone who is at the parlor against their will. But in their reports, that stated concern for possible victims only appears after Officers Eberhardt and Hutchinson take off their pants, after they're fondled. Before that, investigators never determined are the women we're about to pay to touch city employees trafficking victims.
If you're engaging 8 separate times into trying to have sex with victims, you are engaging in trafficking. So the officers in this case could be charged with trafficking, and they are not.
Zach Crenshaw, ABC 15, Arizona.
ABC 15 asked specific questions of Homeland Security investigations and the Coconino County Attorney's Office. Both declined to answer those questions or conduct an interview. As for the criminal cases, since we started looking into the story months ago, court records indicate at least 5 of those cases have been dismissed.
The battle over abortion rights